Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Brent Kesler. He was a chiropractor and a chiropractic coach for over 14 years. But then after implementing the Money Multiplier method, he paid off almost $1 million in third-party debt in 39 months. In fact, Brent became so passionate about how powerful this concept was, he began sharing it with others. It was when his previous mentor told him he had successfully referred over 41 new clients into the system that Brent took his advice and started the journey to becoming a teacher of the TMM Method. Brent's main goal in making this move was simply to help more people understand how to manage and grow their own wealth. Welcome to the show, Brent.
Hey, Flavia, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on to share with the listeners today.
I just love that you went from chiropractic, which is a very niche area of healthcare, and now you work in finance mentoring and coaching. So tell me a little bit about that journey. What got you into chiropractic, and then what got you into this new venture?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I had always wanted to be a chiropractor for a long time, and I actually just couldn't really afford to go to chiropractic school. And then I met my wife, and so my wife pushed me to go to chiropractic school. So I did. I made that journey, went through that, and did that. I went to chiropractic school up in St. Louis, Missouri, at a college up there. And then after I got out, I went to Kansas City. That's where we moved. Was to Kansas City. I had chiropractic offices up there. I actually built it up to 5 chiropractic clinics in the Kansas City area. And actually, I was at a chiropractic conference one day, and I heard this guy talking about this concept called the infinite banking concept, how to become your own banker. And I thought to myself, man, that's really cool, but it just seems too good to be true, right? I'm sure you've heard things like that where it sounds too good to be true. That was me back in February of, no, it was back in 2006. I was in that conference and I heard all this information, thought it was too good to be true. So I went home, went back to my normal chiropractic life. I did nothing with the information that I had learned. And then I go back to another chiropractic seminar about 2 years later in February of 2008. And about 10 or 12 of my colleagues that were at that previous conference are now at this new conference. Okay, it's 2 years later. But the only difference between them and me is back in '06, just when they first heard this information, they acted upon it. So anyway, I had 10 or 12 of my colleagues. They were coming up to me and they were going on and ranting and raving and basically throwing up all over me about how this infinite banking concept was working in their financial life, how they were able to pay off their debt, recapture, recycle money. They were able to build, keep, create wealth through their own debts and expenses that they already had. And so they just kept going on about how good it was. And I thought to myself, there's no way 10 or 12 of my colleagues could be lying to me, right? Maybe 1 or 2, but not 10 or 12. So I came home and I told my wife, again, it was February of 2008 now at this point. And I told my wife, I said, honey, we have to start implementing this concept in our life. Because at that time, we were $984,711 in debt. That's what we owed to the third-party creditors, almost $1 million. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, Brent, how do you even know how much debt you were in? That was part of the exercise. I had to know what that amount was. And now you're thinking, well, how does one person get to be almost $1 million in debt? Now I know, Flavia, if you are in a state or like a city in a state like San Diego, California, that buys you a very small house. But remember, I was in Kansas at the time, and you can buy a lot in Kansas for $1 million. How was I in that debt? I had the house that I lived in. I had my student loans from chiropractic college. I also had a condo on the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And obviously, if you have a condo on the lake, you have to have a boat and a wave runner, right? I'm also an airplane pilot. So as an airplane pilot, I had to have my own airplane. So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. I was able to apply this concept that I had learned, and I was able to pay that debt off in 39 months. 3 years and 3 months, I paid off just under $1 million of debt. I never had to work any harder. I didn't have to change my cash flow. I didn't have to take any additional risk or lose control of my money. All I did was added one step in my financial life. That's it. I added that one step in my financial life. I became really passionate about it because I did it and I was telling other people about it. And anyway, what you said in the introduction, that okay, so that the guy that I started this concept with, right, my own program, my own system, I referred him a whole bunch of clients. How was that? I went to his office one day. He lived in Lawrence, Kansas. I went to his office one day to ask him some questions about my banking concept. He walks downstairs and he says, Brent, I was looking through my records and I've seen here you referred me about 41 new clients. And I said to him, I said, Ray, you've never paid me a dime for any of those. And I laughed about it. And he says, no, in all seriousness, he says, you're very good at this. He says, you're telling other people about it. You've done it in your own life. He says, this is something you should consider doing. I'm like, what? I can do this? He said, yeah. I said, what do I got to do? He says, go out and get your license and then I'll help you to do it. So that's what I did in March of 2012. I had started, now I'm starting to teach this concept. I worked in his office from 2012 to 2017. And just by the way, he has since passed away, but I worked in his office until 2017. And then in 2017, I started the business called the Money Multiplier. So our website is themoneymultiplier.com. I also wrote a book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, which I will send an ebook to anybody in your community that reaches out to me, or they can go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com, or send me an email, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at themoneymultiplier.com. I'll send you that ebook version. But yeah, I've been teaching this now since 2012. I've been teaching it. I've been teaching it in our own company, the Money Multiplier, since early 2017. And the thing I do is I travel around the country and I speak on this concept. I teach people how to build, keep, and create wealth through their own debts and expenses that they already have, simply by adding this one step in their life. And I do that 50 to 70 times a year, traveling around the country, speaking at live events. I speak at so many live events, so I have my own airplane and my own pilot that gets me to all of these events. I do another 100 to 120 Zoom calls, podcasts, virtual webinars as well. And pretty much everything I do now, Flavia, is just all word of mouth and referral. So my daughter, Hannah Kesler, 25 years old, she also has a podcast called The Money Multiplier. And she travels around as well and teaches this concept. And she records a new podcast every week. I think she's up to 160 podcast episodes now. So she's teaching this concept. So it's, yeah, the thing is, it's cool because the thing that we're doing is we're really helping people to break those bonds of financial slavery they don't even realize they're in, and start taking control of their as far of their financial wealth and of their money. I always say it doesn't matter if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. Everybody needs to take control of their financial wealth, break the bonds of financial slavery they don't even realize they're in.
I love that your daughter's 25 and is hosting a financial podcast and helping lots of people. I mean, what a great way to start off your career. And you've come full circle because you heard a speaker on a stage at a big conference talking about this. And now you're that speaker on the stage, traveling all over, talking about the same thing. So I'm just curious if you ever ended up back at that same stage, talking to chiropractors, talking to the people in the seat you were in later in time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. Like, especially in the beginning of my speaking career on this concept, it was mostly chiropractors. And then from chiropractors, it expanded out into dentists and orthodontists and even people in network marketing groups as well. And now, of course, there's a lot of business owners in the audience. And I do a lot in the real estate world, a lot of stages I speak at are to people that are real estate investors. And again, I just don't know if you've ever heard of someone called Pace Morby. So Pace Morby's very active in the real estate world, had a TV show or two. Right. So Pace is a client. I've spoken on his stages. My daughter primarily speaks on the Pace Morby stages, even like Ed Milet, Grant Cardone, stages like that, where we're teaching this concept to people. Because the thing about real estate investors, they love this concept because the thing that we're showing them how to do is to be able to use their money over and over again, to be able to just to be able to use it more than one time. So for example, if a real estate investor goes and buys a property, they want all that capital that they possibly can have to just to be able to fund that property, to be able to do all of the repairs or the improvements to that property. And then obviously they would like to go out and get another real estate property. So it's very important that they have access to their cash and capital. So we've really discovered that is a great niche to be in. As a matter of fact, the guy that I wrote the book with, Chris Naugle, Naugle. Chris Naugle lives in Buffalo, New York. And Chris, he started out as a client of mine. Now he's a colleague on the team. But Chris Naugle was very active in the real estate world too. He's had a couple shows on TV. One was on House Hunters. Another one was on HGTV called Risky Builders. So I would encourage all of your listeners to go out there and to Google, just Google Chris Naugle, Naugle, go to chrisnaugle.com and watch everything that he's teaching. He does 4 or 5 podcasts a week, a couple live virtual webinars. He speaks on stage as well, but he's a wealth of information when it comes to this concept.
But you've piqued everyone's interest. That is for sure, because everyone's now curious. Okay, what is this, right? So give us the 101, the big picture. What is it that you're teaching people to do? What is the money multiplier method? Boiled down.
Yeah. Yep. No, great question. And I'll give you the 25,000 foot view. Now, if somebody really wants to dive into this and really get into the nitty gritty, if you go to our website, themoneymultiplier.com, I have a 90+ minute video with all the attachments that go into pretty great detail about this concept. All you do is go to themoneymultiplier.com, click on Watch Brent Now, and there's that full 90+ minute presentation. But to give you for today the big 25,000 foot view, this is driven by a book called Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, the guy that wrote this book, his name is R. Nelson Nash. Now, R. Nelson Nash, he passed away about 5.5 years ago in March of 2019 at the age of 87 years old. Now, the book that Nelson wrote, he actually wrote 3 books, but the main book, all right, which I call the Bible for money, the book is called Becoming Your Own Banker. All right. He also wrote 2 other books. One was called Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, and the other is The Case for IBC. Now, all 3 of those books that Nelson Nash wrote, I highly recommend that you go find those books and you add those to your wealth building library, because that first book, the Becoming Your Own Banker book, that completely changed my financial life. That is a book that everybody should have. So Nelson was my mentor. He taught me how to really utilize this concept. So the concept is driven from a concept that has really been around for about 250 years. If you go research what the wealthy have been doing with their money for over 200 years, and I'm talking about people like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays. If you go out and research how Walt Disney built Disney World, how Ray Kroc started McDonald's, how Pampered Chef got started before Warren Buffett purchased Pampered Chef. These are all of the tools that the wealthy are using, and this is what we teach. So the infinite banking concept is a concept to keep and create wealth, keep all that money in your family. It's a concept to be able to pay your debt, your expenses, for your products, for your services, for everything that you're exchanging money in life, and be able to recycle and recapture that money. For example, in my 90-plus-minute presentation, I show you how every single vehicle, every single car that you're going to buy for the rest of your life for yourself and your family, not only are you going to be able to buy the car and get the car, but now you're able to recycle and recapture and get that money back. So the thing you do is you get the car and you also get the money back too, because all that wealth is staying in your family. There's no money being leaked out to other people. And the product that we're using to do this, I'm about to tell you what it is, and it's going to freak a lot of you out when I tell you this. It's going to, I know what you're going to think. You're going to think, Brent, there's no way that you can build wealth that way. I'm about to tell you what it is, and here it is. We are going to use a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, that is specifically designed and specially engineered for high immediate cash value. Now, here's what I did, Flavia. I just told everybody what the vehicle was we're going to use to build wealth, and they're thinking to themselves right now, I know I've done this so many times for years and years. I know what people are thinking. They're thinking that's crazy. You could never, ever use a whole life insurance policy to build wealth. It's impossible to do that. As a matter of fact, they're thinking, I know everything there is to know about life insurance, and there's no way you could do this for two reasons. Number one, Dave Ramsey, and number two, Susie Orman told me it was a bad idea. Let's be perfectly clear. You do not know everything there is to know about this, because if you did, you would be utilizing this in your own life, just like the wealthy have been doing for over 200 years. And also, to be clear, this is not any type of life insurance policy that we're using to do this. No, it is not the life insurance policy that you can go buy from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance, right? We all have a brother-in-law that sells life insurance. It is not that policy. It is not a term policy. It is not a universal. It is not a variable policy. It is not an IUL. It is not an index universal life policy. It is a specifically designed, specially engineered whole life insurance policy in a mutual company, very important, in a mutual company that is designed for high immediate cash value. And when I say immediate, it means when you put money into the policy, you immediately have cash available to use within 30 days. So my definition of immediately is within 30 days. So that is what we teach you how to use. That is the product that we're using. Now, yes, can you use other things to build? Absolutely. There's tons of stuff out there you can use to build wealth, but I have never, ever since 2006, and here we are coming up to the very end of 2024 in 18 years, have I never, ever seen a product or a vehicle that allows you to build, keep, and create wealth like this product that had these features and benefits. As a matter of fact, it is so popular. And see, the thing is, most people don't even know about it. But if you've ever heard of a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He also wrote another book called Second Chance. In that book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, Second Chance, this concept is exactly what I teach, what he's talking about in that book. Also, Tony Robbins wrote a book called Money Master the Game. In chapter 5.4 of that Tony Robbins book, this concept that he talks about in chapter 5.4 is exactly what I teach. But the problem with the Kiyosaki book and the Tony Robbins book is when they try to explain it in their book, they make it too difficult and complicated to understand. And people just read right through the material and move on and don't understand what they're saying. I break this down into a very simple, easy to use formula, like a third grade level is how I teach this.
And that's the best is when someone can take something that could be complicated with finance or economics or even the legal world, the world I'm in, and break it down so that really you don't have to go get an MBA to understand it. And I love that's what you do for people to make this knowledge accessible. And then they can decide if it's right for their family. So I highly encourage everyone listening, if you're curious, if you're interested in what this is, what are the ins and outs, what do the numbers look like? Give us your website one more time and ways to connect with you.
Yep, exactly. The website is www.themoneymultiplier.com. So it's THE, the word money, the word multiplier, themoneymultiplier.com. That is the website. You can also email me, Brent, BRENT, at themoneymultiplier.com. So Brent at themoneymultiplier.com. I'm happy to send you my ebook. Okay, I'll send you the ebook version of Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. If you really want the hard copy, you can go out and get the hard copy as well. But again, it's not necessary. I'll send you the ebook. You can go on Amazon. There's an audio version of it. I'm not here to sell you a book. As a matter of fact, you do not need to buy the book. I will send you the ebook version of it, the Money Multiplier. And you'll have, again, the book is called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. Okay, I'll send that ebook version to you. But if you really need to have the hard copy or the audio, you can go out and get that. Again, on our website, themoneymultiplier.com. I would also encourage you, we have over 70 plus smaller videos on the website to go out and take a look at. I've already dropped chrisnoggle.com. My daughter, Hannah Kesler, has a podcast called The Money Multiplier Podcast. It just went live on iHeartRadio about, I don't know, 6-9 months ago. She records a new episode every week. I believe she's up to 150, 160, 170 episodes. Actually, as we speak today, Flavia, she just left for Acapulco to do a live speaking event down there. She's there for the next 6 days. So I travel around the country. I speak on the concept. My daughter does the same thing, traveling around speaking at live events. And then we also do Zooms and podcasts. So if there's anybody out there that thinks that, hey, this would be great information to share in their community, please reach out to us because we love sharing this information to people. There's nothing we're selling you. We don't ask you to buy anything at all. If you like this concept and you want to do it in your own life, hopefully you'll do it with us here at the Money Multiplier. Obviously, it's not required. You can go do it with other people. I don't think there's anyone on this planet that does it like we do it and with the tools that we offer. And then, too, I should tell you of over the 17,000 clients that we work with in every state of the country. We also can work with Canadians as well. If you're from Canada, I have a Canadian colleague I'll turn you on to. But never, ever does any client pay us a dime. Never at all. You will never write me a check for a dime or our company, the Money Multiplier, a check for a dime. See, I get paid one way. I get paid if you work with us and you start this life insurance policy with us. I am a licensed agent in every state of the country. So I get paid the same way your car insurance guy or gal gets paid. For example, if you go to John Smith, the Allstate man, to buy car insurance, the check that you write is not to John Smith. You write the check to Allstate, and Allstate pays John Smith a commission. So no matter who you start a policy with, whether it's car insurance, fire insurance, or life insurance, somebody gets paid a commission, right? So that's why you want to work with me, is because I specialize in the infinite banking concept, in the concept of building, keeping, and creating wealth through your own debts and expenses that you already have, all without you having to work any harder, change your cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of your money. So one more time, the website is themoneymultiplier.com. My email, Brent@themoneymultiplier.com.
So much, Brent. It's been great having you on. As always, we like to spread education, knowledge, enlightenment, those aha moments, and just get people motivated to make changes in their life by knowing more and putting that knowledge into action. Thanks again for being on the show today, Brent.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and allowing me to talk to your community. I know you have lots of choices of guests, so I'm grateful that you asked me to be on today. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.